two polling areas. You understand? Then why would you want to then prevent or stop at the district level? Is there an ulterior motive? Because I think the easiest thing to do is to, in your registration, to do same within the context of the framework that you yourself have put in place to ensure that elections are easy. That's so funny. That should be clear. I think the EC has no business saying that registration should be done at the district levels. Also, when you take into consideration the very architecture of our country, the fact that over the past 30 years we have done very little to, or we haven't done much to build infrastructure in terms of the road networks, because roads and transport, a very strong transport system can make a community very small, no matter how big it is. You understand? Now we have been unable to do that, and so within districts, or in some districts, it's very difficult getting to the what's called district areas. Also, we have not been able to deliver on the promise of economic freedom. So poverty is endemic here. Maybe you are in a crime, you think 10 Ghana cedis is chicken feed, but for certain places in our country, or for some citizens of this country, 10 cedis is, would allow always the pleasure to meet you, 10 cedis is a big deal. So that if people have to spend money really to travel all the way to the districts, then really what you're doing then is to cut them off, or to more or less take away from them that entitlement to be registered and ultimately their right to vote. I also like to call on the NDC, and I'm glad Jijifa is here and my brother Mutala is here. Listen, that's your position of you leaving the IPAC, for me, is untenable. You understand? Because immediately you start talking about how the AC is behaving, I think the ability of NDC as a political party, as a major political party, a political party that has won 4 elections in this country, at any point in time, potentially they can win any election. One of the biggest political party. I can't understand, no matter what is happening in the AC, why you want to leave the IPAC. I think it's better that they are there. You raise all the objections as possible. One of the biggest jobs of a political party is whipping public opinion and public sentiment towards a certain goal. And I think immediately you leave the IPAC and you see she can disregard, but once you are there, then the chances of you being able to fulfill that duty, whipping public opinion towards a certain goal, can best be served. So I'll call on the NDC to quickly go back to the IPAC. Let's fight the system, as in fight all of us as Ghanaians, fight the system, because what is at stake is bigger than all of us. It's bigger than any political party. It's bigger than any one of us. What's at stake is the very integrity of this country and the democracy that we have chosen for ourselves.
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
For higher PENDREAM TV in Pachos, and your first time I subscribe to the channel. No, found Sabo Addo to say the video be a tour. Ube first person I share. Usha video new you send a voice note mine. I was 0277 128 777 0277 128 777. Ebe bo achre Ghana for you na. For yanko share and a video number
from my immediate right with lawyer Appiah Danquah on this issue. Lawyer, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so let me take this opportunity to wish your lovely viewers a good morning. And I consider a privilege always to be on the show with Uncle Kwesi Price, having followed him throughout my childhood, and seeing that he's still very consistent with his political views and his convictions. Also a pleasure always to meet Jifa, NDC Deputy Women Organizer. Hopefully all of us can play a role in this discussion. This is very important and critical discussion towards all of us. Our desire to see a better and stronger Ghana. Now to the issue at hand. personally, I find it unbelievable that after 30 years of a fourth Republican dispensation, we are still talking about something as basic as people's fundamental rights to vote, to share their opinion, their fundamental right at free conscience, and their right to participate in a democracy. For me, any attack on those rights is not just an attack on democracy, but it's an attack on what democracy promised us. Now, democracy as a system of governance became prevalent, or was guaranteed or secured after the Second World War. History will tell us that prior to the First World War, the world as we knew it were literally being governed by absolutism, totalitarianism, and concepts that impede on the freedom, on the rights of people. And so for a right to forge republics and forge democracies, for it to be secured by a war that devastated lives, and over 10 million lives were lost in the First World War. Much more was lost in the Second World War. And so because of the extent of blood that has been spilled to secure for ourselves this system of governance and liberal democracy and all the promises it holds, then it's our duty as people who were privileged to have entered into this world at a time when all those battles have been fought for us, when our liberties have been secured for us, where our right to forge our own political will and then have a chance of securing for ourselves economic freedom. When people have spilled blood and lost lives, you understand, for us to enjoy this, then it is our duty to secure and guarantee and consolidate this democracy for those who come after us. And for me, what's happening with the AC, with the position the AC has taken, really is an attack on our duty, on our obligation to consolidate and more or less guarantee democracy for the next generation. Now, if there's one thing that is clear in the polity's desire to guarantee democracy, then the starting point ought to be, first of all, what kind of political culture are you forging, and secondly, how are you strengthening your political institutions to be able to then guarantee all the promises of democracy, as in guarantee the rule of law, guarantee an open society where our political freedom is secured, where we can, as it were, have a realistic chance of gaining our economic freedom. One of the critical things about this political culture is to build that culture of consensus. Understand? They believe that wisdom does not reside in just one person's mind, or a toleration for other views. I think it is in the light of this that in '92 IEC felt it necessary to form the IPAC as a group where all the political parties could meet and then have deliberations about enhancing this democratic experiment. Also, to also guarantee the democracy and the promise of democracy, the founding fathers of our fourth Republican dispensation felt it necessary to give to Ghana, the people of Ghana, or to lead the people of Ghana to take upon themselves a constitution that more or less limited powers. And so a democracy can, beyond saying that it's a liberal democracy, can best be said to be a constitutional democracy. So a democracy whose focus is to practically limit the powers of the executive, because we believe that where the powers of the executive are limited, where all the principles that were espoused by DISASSOCIATES in the rule of law, when they are guaranteed in this constitution, then the purpose of having a liberal democracy, as in the ideals that John Locke spoke about in his second treatise of government, can best be secured. And so when you read our constitution gives certain rights, And one of the critical rights it gave was the right of every citizen of Ghana above the age of 18 of sound mind to vote. Now, when you read, and that's according to Article 42 of the Constitution. Now, beyond giving that right, it also went ahead to say that, and Ghanaians, citizens of Ghana, 18 years above, are also entitled to be registered. They are entitled to be registered. Now, it is not for nothing that they choose to use the word entitled. You understand? So it's giving the right, but it's also giving us the entitlement. So we are entitled, and when you go into the understanding of the word entitled, when I say somebody is entitled or entitlement, the whole concept of it, that means that right is a given. It means that there's a responsibility on the body that has been given the power to ensure that our right at voting is manifested, entitles every citizen of Ghana the right to be registered. You get that picture. What does it mean? It means that registering or getting yourself registered so that you can exercise that right to vote should not be a struggle. It means that nothing should be put, or there should not be any hindrance at you getting registered to enable you to enjoy that what's called right to vote. Now, to place it in a better context, when you consider the structure that the EC has put in place, as in exercising of the right to vote, as in the fact that we have the constituency, you have the electoral area, you have the polling station. Because when I'm going to vote, I won't go to my district, I won't go to my constituency. The system has become so easy, I just have to walk to my polling area to vote. You understand? Because the EC take into consideration the purpose, the intent of that right to vote, and how critical making that easy, you understand, in forging that culture to ensure, to guarantee this democratic experiment. For that, we have to break it down into a system where it will be so easy, it won't be cumbersome. It won't be so difficult for me to express my opinion as to who I intend to govern me. You understand? Now, when you are registering, you understand, and I know they are saying that limited registration exercise. But when you are undertaking any form of registration, when you are putting flesh to that entitlement, you understand, at least why don't you put it within the same framework as you've created when it comes to voting? Because really, when people are going to exercise that right to vote, they are going to do the same by going to their police station. You understand? And there's also a reason. Understand that every police station shouldn't have more than about 1,000 people. The idea is that within that small enclave, people know themselves. Even serves as a safeguard against people who are non-Ghanaians or people who do not have that right to vote. That system prevents them from voting, without necessarily having the police or anybody there, because within that small 1,000 populated, at least not more than 1,000 populated community, the chances is that, or the chances are that we will know each other, and the people within that catchment area can serve as checks and balances on the integrity of that electioneering process. So what I expect, that when you're going to undertake a limited registration exercise, which ultimately you would need to get the people registering for the first time into polling areas, you understand, then why would you want to then prevent or stop at the district level? Is there an ulterior motive? Because I think the easiest thing to do is to, in your registration, to do same within the context of the framework that you yourself have put in place to ensure that elections are easy. So for me, that should be clear. I think the EC has no business saying that registration should be done at the district levels. Also, when you take into consideration the very architecture of our country, the fact that over the past 30 years we have done very little to, or we haven't done much to build infrastructure in terms of the road networks, because roads and transport, a very strong transport system can make a community very small, no matter how big it is. You understand? Now we have been unable to do that, and so within districts, or in some districts, it's very difficult getting to the what's called district areas. Also, we have not been able to deliver on the promise of economic freedom. So poverty is endemic here. Maybe you are in a crime, you think 10 Ghana cedis is chicken feed, but for certain places in a country, or for some citizens of this country, 10 cedis is always a pleasure to meet you. 10 cedis is a big deal. So that if people have to spend money really to travel all the way to the districts, then really what you're doing then is to cut them off, or to more or less take away from them that entitlement to be registered and ultimately their right to vote. So for me, I think the mere fact that almost all the interest groups in this country are saying the same thing, almost all. Indeed, apart from the NPP, almost all the rest are ready to even to go to court, to get the court to more or less determine the extent of that right under Article 42. The fact that almost everybody is saying the same thing should tell the EC something. There is this culture about lack of consensus building in our country, which is dangerous. You understand? When posterity looks at about governance over the past few years, about the, let's say, the past 6, 7 years, one of the negatives will be our inability to seize the opportunity of the kind of parliament we have now to build that culture of consensus. Sometimes the politicians seem to forget it, as if we have two Ghana. We don't have two Ghana, we have one Ghana. You understand? So that for me, when the 2021 parliament, the 8th parliament, turned out the way it did, for me, I saw opportunity. An opportunity for our politicians, for our political actors to build on their capacity in terms of building consensus. You understand? And the ability to build consensus begins from a realization that by the very nature of the liberal democratic democracy that we are practicing, the fact that we are all Ghanaians, when Mutala sitting here or Jifa sitting here, in spite of the fact that they are NDC, I don't mind missing because they are Ghanaians. They are Ghanaians. In fact, I remember about 6 months ago, I had a call from somebody. I went on radio and I criticized people in my own party. And somebody called me, but I won't mention the person's name. Why am I criticizing? But and that I should be doing same to the NDC. I should be hitting them. I said, listen, for me, every election here is a family issue. As in national elections is a family issue. When we go to elect leaders, NPP and NDC, it's not a battle between enemies. For the end, we're all Ghanaian. You go to families, some are NPP, some are NDC. You understand? And so we need to build a country where our major consideration for any decision we take is what's in the best interest of the country. Now, when we start thinking that way, then we will, because our focus is to build Ghana, to build an open and free society where we have the best chance of making of ourselves what we dream. You understand? Then we need to learn the art of building consensus. We need to build the art of reaching out to various interest groups from various ideas and coming together to find a solution that is in the best interest of Ghana. Because when you look at the EC, it's as if the EC is learning from as in the very negative culture that seems to be permeating our politics now. That divisive nature that unfortunately, in my view, can kill democracy here. You understand? Because we must start seeing ourselves as Ghanaians. We must start seeing ourselves as partners in building a nation. We must start realizing that because we're all different, we all can't see things the same way. The fact that Mutala maybe has a different view as an about issue does not mean that he's my enemy, or the fact that he first decided that, look, I think NDC represents the values that best represents how I see things, and so I'm going there, so she is my enemy. Also, I don't know why is she doing politics. She's doing politics because she thinks that she wants to, that will be the best way she can help in building the Ghana, the kind of Ghana that all of us want to live in. You understand? So for me, I think that culture of not being able to build consensus, and that culture has been exhibited by the AC, because it's like, it's either my way or it's highway. That I'm not ready to listen to anything anybody else is saying. You understand? Listen, we are building Ghana, and we decided that the best vehicle, the best tool to do that is this democracy. Now we feel that, or we believe, not feel, we think that to best guarantee as the promises of democracy, then we need an EC who should not only be partial in writing, but must also make us have a perception that she is not partial. You understand? We need an EC who will guarantee, who in fact who indeed will put flesh to that entitlement, the fact that we are entitled to be registered. I think that starts by she listening to us. She listening to the voices, the opinion of the masses. She respecting the fact that the right to vote means that you must do, she the EC must do everything practicable to ensure that every single Ghanaian is registered. And that means that the EC should come off her houses, bring that exercise all the way down to the police stations, so people can register. If she fails to do that, then what she's really attacking is not the political parties. It's not what she's attacking is the promise of democracy, that open and free society where we are free to forge our own political will, where we believe that the rule of law is guaranteed, where we believe that our liberties, our right to life, our right to property can best be guaranteed, where we believe that we will have the best chance of fulfilling our economic rights. That's what she is attacking. And I pray and hope that she will see wisdom in what majority organizers are saying, and then deliver on a mandate to put flesh to our rights to vote. Now, just to end, I also like to call on the NDC, and I'm glad Jijifa is here and my brother Mutala is here. Listen, that's your position of you leaving the IPAC for me is untenable. You understand? Because when you start talking about how the AC is behaving, I think the ability of NDC as a political party, as a major political party that has won 4 elections in this country, potentially they can win any election. One of the biggest political party. I can't understand, no matter what is happening in the AC, why you want to leave the IPAC. I think it's better that they are there. You raise all the objections as possible. One of the biggest jobs of a political party is whipping public opinion and public sentiment towards a certain goal. And I think immediately you leave the IPAC and you see she can disregard, but once you are there, then the chances of you being able to fulfill that duty, whipping public opinion towards a certain goal, can best be served. So I'll call on the NDC to quickly go back to the IPAC. Let's fight the system, as in fight all of us as Ghanaians, fight the system, because what is at stake is bigger than all of us. It's bigger than any political party. It's bigger than any one of us. What is at stake is the very integrity of this country and the democracy that we have chosen for ourselves. That is what is at stake. The political culture that is being forged now is dangerous for us. And that culture can thrive, or can only thrive, when political actors, political institutions think that they take a laid back attitude towards certain things. No, we can't afford to do that. We need to create a political culture that tolerates disagreement. We need to create a political culture that will demand for accountability, and we can only do that when we realize that then what we are fighting for is a common goal, and that's a better Ghana. That should only be the reason why we do politics in this country. And for me, that's the battle that is ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I said the tone on the matter of the limited voter registration that's currently ongoing. Now, you're free to share with us what your own experiences are if you're one of those who've tried.
A tell for channel I share video we also a PENDREAM TV mpacho what share we I didn't share be our video in who be send my 0277128777 0277128777 WhatsApp number to send your voice nebra na bebo magana for nyina ate wonka
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase na so far so good say open online portal e wo Ghana nipa share nipa follow nipa comment here to my best of knowledge without any biases PENDREAM TV